Well, some of you know me, some of you don't know me. I'd like to think of myself as the most infamous doctor in Canada. Just in the last 3 months alone, I've been threatened with imprisonment for 83 days. I've had my financial accounts frozen, something really that hasn't happened since the Canadian trucker convoy. So right now, my financial accounts are frozen by the Alberta government and Alberta Health Services. I'm being extorted for about $140,000. I just avoided prison time. I paid Alberta Health Services about $10,000 in fines last week. They just told me they want another $45,000 to let the recent court application to have me declared in contempt of court go. So, very dangerous person here. I'm going to be telling you about very dangerous things like ivermectin, fenbendazole, mebendazole, and how they're used in cancer. It's funny. The persecution of doctors has just been absolutely unbelievable. You guys have some heroes here in British Columbia: Dr. Charles Hoff, Dr. Stephen Malthouse, in the house here. And it continues. It still continues. We're still being persecuted for raising concerns, for talking about harm from the vaccines, for example, which is still going on. I just testified at the National Citizens Inquiry in Edmonton a couple of days ago on kids who are vaccinated who are now getting cancer. It's starting to show up. There's not a lot of numbers yet, and it's going to be denied for years. And I'm seeing these kids. I have some of them as patients of mine already. It's happening. And that's what I was talking about the first 2 years of the pandemic. I was talking about the died suddenly phenomenon. I was talking about the turbo cancer phenomenon, people developing extremely aggressive cancers after taking the COVID-19 vaccines. And, I spent 2 years talking about that. I lost my Twitter account. I was banned from Twitter by the previous Twitter management. And in the last couple of years, I've shifted focus to solutions. And how can we treat some of these injuries and these conditions? Because you can only talk about harm so long. I get it. Everyone's tired of it. And I think everyone gets it by now. These jabs have been absolutely destructive. Everyone knows someone who's had a heart attack, a stroke, blood clots, all kinds of autoimmune diseases, neurological diseases, and cancer. And there's been a huge explosion of cancer. And that's what I'm dealing with right now. Right now, I'm running the largest ivermectin cancer clinic in the world. I've got over 1,000 patients. In fact, I can't tell you how many patients I have because the college has already threatened me and said they're going to come after me every which way possible to try to stop me. They actually told me to take down the title doctor and MD from all my social media accounts. They said, we're going to come after your social media accounts. That was on February 10th. On February 14th, my Twitter account was hacked. It was taken over by hackers from Montreal. They started selling crypto coins. So there's a crypto coin of me out there somewhere. They actually hacked Dr. John Campbell at the same time because I did an interview with Dr. John Campbell about cancer and ivermectin. And we were both hacked by the same group within 2 weeks of that interview. Fortunately, that interview is still up on YouTube, and it's a great interview. I recommend you to go see it. I think he's still locked out of his account. I managed to get my Twitter account back, but the morning of the 18th, February 18th, the hackers had actually deleted 44,000 of my Twitter posts. They deleted everything about Alberta Health Services, the corruption that's going on in Alberta. They deleted all my ivermectin posts, cancer posts, and that day I managed to just get my account back. Twitter restored all of my posts, and 2 days later, I was notified that my financial accounts were frozen, and the Alberta government started raiding my financial accounts. So my Stripe account is frozen. They're raiding my accounts for over $140,000. This is going on in Canada. Like, this is going on out in the open. And I think Mark Carney was on the board of Stripe, as on the board of directors, if I'm not mistaken. So there's that connection there too. What I wanted to talk to you about tonight a little bit was repurposed drugs, and repurposed drugs specifically centering on ivermectin. Ivermectin really is kind of a miraculous drug. It really did work for COVID-19. It works for influenza, so if we ever get hit with influenza H5N1, the next pandemic, it's going to work for that. Have some in the cupboard. But it's just incredible the conditions that ivermectin works for. And I've discovered a lot of this by accident. Some of it is preclinical literature. Some of it is just people sending me testimonials, things that they tried. I had patients taking ivermectin for cancer and their psoriasis cleared up, right? Their Lyme disease was cured. And the conditions, they had chronic Lyme they were suffering from Lyme arthritis for decades, and a few weeks of ivermectin, and that cleared up, right? And so there's this whole body of research with repurposed drugs out there, and people are getting all kinds of incredible relief, including in cancer, including stage 4 cancer. And that's just what I'm going to talk to you briefly about tonight. So ivermectin, if we look at what is a repurposed drug, the repurposed drug is a drug that was designed for one purpose and has been discovered for work against something completely different. And now you take that drug and you just use it for something else. And so it's sort of off-label use. And if we look at just, let's say, topical ivermectin, the horse paste. Let's start just with horse paste. The ivermectin paste, ivermectin cream, is actually FDA approved for the treatment of rosacea. A lot of people don't know that, but ivermectin cream is actually FDA approved. Your dermatologist can prescribe it. Now, of course, the doctors hesitate to prescribe it, but it's a 1% ivermectin cream. You could treat rosacea. The ivermectin horse paste is actually 1.87%, so it's stronger. It's almost twice as strong. You can literally use it for any inflammatory or autoimmune skin condition. It'll treat cystic acne, which is the worst possible acne you can have, and it'll clear it completely. It'll clear eczema. Like I said, in many cases, it will clear psoriasis. But most impressive of all, it will clear skin cancers. And I now have tons of testimonials from patients who had either basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, melanoma. They started applying the horse paste twice a day. Within a couple of weeks, you see the lesion, the skin lesions start changing. You can see it. Just after a couple of weeks of application, the lesion starts changing, it starts getting smaller, and after a month or two, it may fall off completely and it's gone. You can treat any skin cancer with ivermectin paste, the horse paste, the $8, $9 horse paste that you get at whatever veterinary supply. And I've had patients I had one patient, for example, who was putting ivermectin on a tongue cancer, and she could actually feel the lesion start. And it was her doctor who actually wrote to me and said, this patient, she feels her lesion shrinking because she could feel it in her mouth because the lesion was on the tongue. She could feel it every day. After a few weeks, the lesion she could feel it shrinking. You could apply it to breast lumps. And women have reported to me breast lumps shrinking. Even benign lesions like lipomas or all kinds of cysts. Just apply the ivermectin paste and you can see these things shrinking as the ivermectin gets absorbed through the skin. So, the topical ivermectin is a wonderful thing. Get some horse paste, stock up on it, get like 10 tubes. You can literally get the 1% ivermectin cream from India Mart for $2. $2 US. I ordered 30 of them at a time just to make the shipping worth it from India. But it's an incredible thing. And you can, if you get a bunch of tubes, you could give it to your neighbors, you could give it to your loved ones. It's simple. It's simple, and the family doctors are afraid of it. They assume fetal position when you talk to them about this. Seriously. And so now switching to oral ivermectin, certain autoimmune conditions respond to ivermectin. And the ones that I've seen, rheumatoid arthritis will respond to ivermectin. Juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. I've got juvenile rheumatoid arthritis patients. I have a ballerina, a 16-year-old ballerina who had spondylitis that responded to ivermectin. And she had really trouble with movement and this constant inflammation and so on. So when you've got inflammatory conditions, think ivermectin, low dose, 12 milligrams, 24 milligrams, and it may respond. Another area that very few people know about is ivermectin has effect on neurological conditions. And the ones that I've had the most success with have been Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease. And again, it's a very simple thing. I discovered it by accident. There was a mouse model of sort of Parkinsonism. And for Alzheimer's, you can't even find the research because it's been scrubbed from Google. So there's a study that was done, a preclinical study on ivermectin and Alzheimer's, where the researchers concluded that ivermectin has an effect on Alzheimer's and should be studied. It's been scrubbed from Google. If you go on DuckDuckGo, you can actually get the abstract of that study. But in Google, it's completely scrubbed. You just see the titles, it was done in the Middle East, and it's nowhere to be found. You can't get a PDF of the article, nothing. Completely scrubbed. Parkinson's disease, I've used high doses of ivermectin, something like 60 milligrams, 72 milligrams, and these patients are responding. They have improvement in symptoms, improvement in movement. I have a patient who was barely mobile on maximum doses of standard treatment, who after a few weeks of high dose ivermectin started playing golf. And she hadn't been able to play golf for many years. And I've seen reversal in a number of Parkinson's disease patients. Now, Alzheimer's, this is where it gets really fascinating and really blew my mind. As patients sort of started asking me, could I use it for my 90-year-old father or mother and so on. And I said, look, start with a low dose. Let's see what happens, right? Because the older you are, you might have some side effects with ivermectin. There's, if you give too high of a dose to an older person, you might get a little bit of confusion, a little bit of instability on the feet. And so start with 12 milligrams. And these, the family members are trying. And some of these patients are recognizing family members after just a couple of doses. They're recognizing family members they haven't recognized in years. Their memories are coming back. So they start reminiscing. They remember things. Their cognitive ability starts to come back. Literally just 12 milligrams, 24 milligrams of ivermectin for a few days, 4 or 5 days. Just try it. And I tell people, just try, report back to me. And I had one patient who was actually taken off hospice because they were doing so well. It's just incredible. And people tell me, they get this precious time back with their loved ones. And especially with someone who's, been suffering from Alzheimer's for many years, you feel like you've lost your loved one. And then suddenly they're back. They say, my grandma's back. She's got her sense of humor back. Her memories are back. And this is literally with a couple of pills of ivermectin. Safe, zero risk. And the moments that the family gets back are so precious. You can't buy it. It's incredible. And so I always say, give it a shot, just give it a try, just a little bit. Patients who are sort of bedridden, not responsive, suddenly the next day they're up and about, they're eating pudding. Like, it's just unbelievable stories. And I share all these stories on Twitter. I share them on Substack, and I highly encourage you to have a look at them sometimes. So ivermectin in neurological diseases, specifically Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. But it's really the cancer is where I've been focusing a lot of my work, and most of my patients are stage 4. Unfortunately, people come to me very late. Now, when they come to me early, I'll tell you what happens. I get breast cancer patients. They'll come to me early. They come to me before surgery, and they say, look, I've got mastectomy, but it's like 3 months from now, 4 months from now. I've got a 6-centimeter tumor. I've got a 7-centimeter tumor. So I put them on ivermectin and another antiparasitic. I use 2 antiparasitics, ivermectin and fenbendazole, or ivermectin and mebendazole. Fenbendazole and mebendazole are almost identical. One is FDA approved. The other one is a dog dewormer. They are virtually identical. And so